Hello everyone, welcome to Snapper. My name's MJ and it's Snap or Pass. Today we're looking at Anti-Venom. He's a 4/6. On reveal, set the cost and power of your deck's top card to 0. We're going to be looking at the spotlight week that he is in, all of the mechanics around the card, counters, locations, some awesome deck ideas, and you can use the chapters below to skip to a specific section if you want to. We're on the road to 2,099 subscribers. I've got an absolutely cringe, absolutely hilarious, wild idea for a video, so please subscribe. I know lots of you watch. It would make me very happy and give me a better day if you subscribe. Right, the spotlight week that Anti-Venom is in. He's alongside Supergiant, who's Series 5, and Ghost Spider, who's Series 4. Let's talk about Ghost Spider first. I generally really like Ghost Spider. I like particularly Ghost Spider in Nimrod. So if you're a Nimrod fan, or you've always wanted to get into the Nimrod style of deck, and Phoenix Force as well by that count. I play him in literally normal Nimrod as well as Phoenix Force. Too many times have I been hit with Armor or Eliath or Cosmo when I'm destroying that Nimrod on the final turn, so I use Ghost Spider to pull it. Like, if I can ever pull Nimrod out of that location, I always do. So yeah, that's why I like her. And you know, she's a good move card, she's a solid card. Thing is, she's a Series 4, so not massive value there. And Supergiant, very interesting card. I mean, I haven't got her, so I will be rolling this week, just as a heads up. Like, yeah, I will be getting her because I'll be rolling until I've got everything here. Well, actually, that's not quite true. I'll be rolling, and well, I'll explain later. Anyway, Supergiant, when I've come across her, she has actually screwed me. So I do think there is like an element that she may be a bit underplayed. A lot of people are playing combo decks that rely on having their turn play out the way they want instead of it being delayed to the end of the turn. So yeah, she's probably underplayed. That being said, like, she's nothing crazy or mind-blowing. But I will say I do absolutely love this spotlight variant for Anti-Venom as well. I think that's mega. So next, let's look at the mechanics of the card. The rough archetypes I think Anti-Venom is going to fit into most include things like combo decks, tribunal decks, on reveal decks, ongoing decks. That might sound like a weird one, but most of my decks that I'll feature later will be ongoing. Devil Dinosaur potentially. I'll talk about that now a little bit. If you're maybe got some sort of Devil Dinosaur deck with Nick Fury, maybe Coulson, getting like a zero-costed Nick Fury or Coulson is not too bad at the end of the day, because you can play some stuff out from your hand and then refill it. Like, there's a potential opportunity there, maybe. And control decks. One of the main things that I've seen people talk about with this card is that they think it'll work particularly well with tech cards. So if your deck is filled with cards like Shang-Chi, Enchantress, Shadow King, these types of things, if you can play out your offensive cards with the energy that you're using, and then you've got this zero-costed tech card, that could be a really strong element. So let's talk about just some general factoids about Anti-Venom. The power of the card can be reset using Luke Cage or Shadow Kings. That's very interesting, especially as we've just said. There might be a good opportunity for Anti-Venom with lots of tech cards, so even though Shadow King is a 2-cost card, recently buffed to a 2/3 in fact, maybe that'll be pretty good. You'll be able to play it on the you can wait until the end of the game to play your zero-costed card, of course. That's one of the key pros that we'll talk about with Anti-Venom. So you can play that zero-costed card on the same location that you plan to target one of their buffed cards, and you get double bubble. So that's going to be pretty cool. And the effect will feel powerful with strong on-reveal and ongoing effects, especially for cards which already have a low power like Iron Man. Yeah, you're generally not going to be wanting to play this card in a deck which has other cards which have a very high power. That's why you're going to be wanting to rely more on the card's abilities. So, pros. Gives you the element of surprise. Similar to Pixie, your opponent won't be able to predict the ceiling of your output. You have got this zero-costed card. For all they know, well, they don't know anything, but you could have a 6-costed card that costs 0. I mean, even if it was like an Iron Man, right? An Iron Man would be an absolutely crazy pull. There's also some ways to manipulate that card, which we'll look at in the deck ideas, but just throwing some ideas out there. How about a Moon Girl and you're having double that effect? It's possible, and we're definitely going to look at a deck which exploits that. But do not underestimate the element of surprise this card is going to give. It offers high combo potential, being able to take advantage of a zero-cost card. Yeah, this is just the ability to combo things. Don't even discredit or discount slightly lower power cards or slightly lower costed cards that you can really take advantage of. Hitmonkey, okay? You might think, why would you be playing a Hitmonkey style deck with lots of one cost cards with Anti-Venom? Well, there's one element that Anti-Venom might be able to naturally fit in and help you to control your priority a bit more. So it's not a massive power play, and then you're banking that power for a later turn. And even if you did play Hitmonkey, let's just talk about a turn that's Hitmonkey, Sage, and the 0 costed card. That Hitmonkey is still coming out as like a, what, 3, 4, 5, 6, 3, 7? Like, not even, like, not bad by any means. If you're securing another location with the Sage, which you could certainly flip a location with Sage, and that's probably a location they've put a lot of energy and resource into, this leaves the 1 costed card, which could be at the same location as Hitmonkey, and even if it's as simple as Silver Sable, that's a couple of power. But that's if you low roll. If you high roll in that deck, your Sage could be the 0 power card, the 0 cost 0 power card. Your Hitmonkey could be the 0/0. So there is definitely lots of combo potential for this guy, and he has potential in lots of different archetypes. Albeit he has a very specific ability, and it is a pretty niche card. Like, it really is quite restrictive, and it's a very specific thing. So deck building is going to be need to be very specific. You do need to think about, if I do get this card as a 0/0, does this card even still work? So you do need to consider that. The cons: he's unpredictable for you to play without Howard, so it may be difficult to plan your play line. You don't know exactly which card you're going to get until you've drawn it, of course, and then that only leaves you a couple of turns, well, really, turn 5 and 6, generally speaking, to actually plan out exactly what you're going to do and how you're going to win that. Sometimes you need a little bit more time to prep and plan your winning lines. He doesn't really have an impact the turn you play it, so it's just like you're adding 6 power to the board. It's not really doing much, and it's restrictive to deck building because you don't want to play cards that rely on their power, especially cheaper cards. So what I mean by the especially cheaper cards there is that if it's a cheaper card that relies on its power, you're not getting that much value at all out of using Anti-Venom and it rolling onto that card. So it's going to feel better with the higher costed cards that have lower power. Certainly things like White Tiger, obviously going to be great. Iron Man, Mystique would be a good one even at a midder cost. Midder, not a word, but it should be. Stupid that was. Good. That's the end of the mechanics segment, so I just need to segue onto the next section, which is locations. There's actually not many location considerations here. There's a couple good, couple bad. Really, this guy sort of just is generally fine everywhere. He's not affected by too much. Now, the big house is an interesting one. It prevents cards that cost 4, 5, 6 from being played there. Your 0 costed card is gonna have some sort of way to output more power than the value of it seems. That was a weird sentence, but hopefully that might be good for Big House because you can sneak power into that. Even though it's a 0 costed card, should actually have a high power ability. Even if that was a White Tiger, you just fill up somewhere else and try and make that tiger go into Big House. That was a really bad example anyway. Quantum Realm, yeah, your 0 costed, 0 powered. Good. Brilliant. Right, the last minute or so, this video has turned into absolute chaos. Bye, BB. Love you. See what I mean? No. Wife. So, yeah, Quantum Realm is good. Obviously, you're going to change your 0 costed 0 power card into a 2 power card. That's especially good if that is Iron Man or something. Machine World is an interesting one because you can play Anti-Venom into Machine World. Like, reasonably likely they won't want to play it. I mean, certainly they might still play it. They might play it on turn 5 and just get a 0 costed card. But they probably won't, because Anti-Venom, as I say, is pretty specific, and you're probably going to want to build a deck largely around, or not build a deck around Anti-Venom, but just be conscious when you're deck building of the cards that he can hit. Your opponent probably won't want to risk it, and so you can get that relatively early card into Machine World. However, I will also put Machine World in the bad locations, because that 0 costed card, you certainly can't play it onto Machine World. Now, the slight little addendum there is that really, this zero-costed card, you're playing it on the final turn in 99.9% of circumstances. I've put Clothing Vats in bad. I mean, it's kind of good because you can get the zero-costed card, but you also sort of you're probably revealing your hand. And if they see you putting like a really powerful zero-cost card in your hand, probably going to retreat. So it kind of, oh god. The chaos levels of this video is just explode. It probably depends on what you value more. Do you value the win, in which case it's good, or do you value the cubes, in which case it's weaker? Let's move on to the counters. Really interesting counters this week. I had like 4 new cards that I had to create these sexy borders for. Anyway, let's talk about the boring one for Cosmo. Yeah, like Cosmo's going to shut down not only the Anti-Venom, but there's also a secondary opportunity that he's going to be able to shut, that she's a female dog, right? Bitch! Sorry. Fine. She's also going to be able to shut down the zero-costed card, especially as a surprise turn. Like, if you're banking a lot on having that swing with the costed 0 power card, what should we call the card that gets the Avd? I'll try and remember to call it Avd, the Avd card. It's a bit awkward to say, but Cosmo is going to be able to shut down the Avd card as well as Anti-Venom. If you sneak through the Anti-Venom, they have a secondary bite of the cherry to be able to stop you with that Cosmo. So yeah, that's kind of annoying. Baron Zemo is an absolute nightmare. I don't think that Anti-Venom is going to be particularly big in the meta, but if he does, prepare to have, if they've lost priority, you play Anti-Venom on 4 and they play Baron Zemo on 4, absolute nightmare because they've just stolen your card. That is grim. That is grim, unless you're running Wasp or Yellow Jacket in your deck, which you're not. Mobius, obviously horrific. Pretty much get out of there, or certainly don't play Anti-Venom if they're running Mobius, because it's going to change your zero cost into whatever the original cost was. Black Bolt is an absolute nightmare as well. As we said, you're definitely going to want to be playing the Avd card on the final turn, so you're going to be holding on turn 5. Black Bolt is a 5 energy card, so they're going to be playing on turn 5 and they're going to be ruining your day. That is truly, that is going to feel absolutely woeful. And Alioth is going to kill the Avd card. It's going to be a 0/0. It's going to be gross. So yeah, we don't like that at all. Some really strong counters there. Let's talk about the key synergies and some deck ideas for you though. Some of these synergies we've spoken about already, but let's talk about Howard the Duck in a bit more detail. I mean, he's a simple card. He lets you look at the top card of your deck. So when you're on your turn 4, if you're playing Anti-Venom on turn 4, you can see what the top card of your deck is. If that top card is truly like the worst roll it could have possibly been, you pivot, you do something else, and then you play the Anti-Venom on the next turn, knowing that it's at least going to hit something better, or you can hold off. So it adds that extra element of predictability, so that's good. Mystique is going to be really good. A 0/0 Mystique can be really powerful, especially because you can play your 6-costed ongoing card on turn 6 and then literally duplicate it. That will be particularly potent with something like Onslaught, so that's going to be cool. Frigga, I don't normally talk about key synergies that are for cards that are unreleased. However, Frigga is only out a week after this card, so I thought I'd kind of sneak it in. It's not too bad. Frigga, if you don't know, she's a 3/3. On reveal, add a copy of the last card you played to your hand. So you could play Anti-Venom on turn 4, and then you could play the 0-costed card and Frigga on turn 5. So you can get extra benefit from this 0-costed card. So that's pretty cool. Another way to duplicate the benefits of the 0-costed card is with Moon Girl. Moon Girl is a little bit difficult. I do have her in one of these decks, but the one thing that you do need to consider with her is that there is a slight mismatch between, in Moon Girl decks, you need to have enough cheap cards that you are playing enough cards out of your hand that your hand is able to duplicate. Anti-Venom wants you to play a lot of higher costed cards because those are the cards with the bigger power, and that those are the cards that benefit from being duplicated. However, there's a few other synergies in that deck which we'll look at momentarily in mere seconds. As we've spoken about, Shang-Chi and the other tech cards are going to be good, and Iron Man is obviously super cracked. I'm actually going to talk about the middle deck, the explosive reveals, first, because I did just basically start talking about it with Moon Girl. So the idea of this deck is, you've got some really powerful, really potent earlier turn effects, like Silver Sable and Zabu, who, if you do get the Avd card, it's not the end of the world. Even on turn 5, if you've still got a couple of 4-costed cards in your deck, it's kind of not the worst thing. You can play that Zabu out, get a potential extra benefit. Silver Sable, like, fine, not great rolls, but the thing is, those are the 2 low rolls in this deck for the Anti-Venom. You've also got really powerful cards like Dr. Doom, Leader, and White Tiger, who are all very strong as a 0-costed card. But there's some extremely interesting lines in this deck. Let's have a look at the early turn Zabu. You've still got some 4s in your deck, and all of those are getting reduced. If you can get a tick of reduction down on any of those cards, like the Moon Girl, the Wong, the Anti-Venom, it allows you to do some really interesting things. Let's say you get the discount on the Anti-Venom. It actually allows you to do a turn 5 Anti-Venom into Agent Venom. So that means you are reducing the cost of the cards in your deck, or actually by this point the only relevant one is the top card. You're changing it to 0 cost, and Agent Venom brings it up to 4 power. So that's particularly interesting, but that's just one fun little line. Especially if you've still got those powerful cards in your deck, that's going to feel really nice. But even if you don't, there's interesting cards in here like Sage and Ironheart, and White Tiger. In fact, all of those want to be duplicated effects by Wong. And yeah, you've got enough cheaper cards in here that you can play them out naturally and try and gear up for that explosive end of turn combo of Anti-Venom into Moon Girl and doubling the 0-costed card. So like one of your curves could be Zabu on 1. I mean, you could do Agent Venom on 2, that's fine. On 3, you play your Anti-Venom because it got hit by Zabu. Then on 4 you can play the Moon Girl, or you can blah blah blah. Yeah, hopefully this works. This could be cool, interesting. And even just the mid-tier cards here, Ironheart and Sage, they're potentially really powerful as a 0 cost. So even Medusa, you know, fine. Especially Medusa in the middle with Wong, people could underestimate that. So that's a cheap way to win the middle whilst you do something explosive with your other 0-cost card. Blah blah blah. Cool. Now the other few. Let's talk about the high roll ongoing deck. This was like one of the first things that I had identified as being, oh, like Anti-Venom kind of strikes me as a Spectrum card, because Anti-Venom is creating a 0-costed card. So essentially what Anti-Venom is doing is giving you the opportunity to play more cards with that element of surprise. And playing more cards, there's a couple of things in the ongoing / Spectrum style deck that benefit from you playing more cards. So that is Dazzler and Ant-Man. They need more cards down in order to benefit from those effects. But also it's an additional potential extra 2 power from Spectrum, and it's also the surprise element as well. So these several factors may come together to create a fairly potent deck. The rest of this deck actually features cards that you might not expect to see in a normal, typical Spectrum deck, like Shanna and Hawkeye. Again, it's the ability for us to play more cards. The rest of the deck is all ongoing stuff. So we've got, of course, the Onslaught, because that's a particularly good one from Anti-Venom. Spectrum herself is great from Anti-Venom. Claw, strong. Iron Man going to be huge. Omega Red definitely going to be a good one, because we can play Omega Red with the Ant-Man and the other smaller cards that we get. Even if we like a final, let's just look at what a final turn could be. Stick Cosmo on the right to be a bit disruptive. Slam Shanna down. You're adding 4 additional cards to the board, and then you've got the 0-costed Spectrum or the 0-costed Onslaught, which sorry, there's like youths yelling outside the house and it's very distracting. And then finally, Elveno did flow. Is there any Office fans out there? Let me know in the comments if you are one of those. This is a Tribunal deck, Living Tribunal. Res Snapper, aka MJ, why would you want to change Living Tribunal to be 9 power when he's like 9? Because there's other things that are good in this deck. Okay, so yes, you have got a couple of cards that you don't really want to change their power to 0, like Onslaught and Tribunal. However, if you do get those cards at the 0 cost, there is ways with this deck to just explosively do things. I mean, you've still got the Iron Man Mystique in here. Even if you do like the Iron Man Onslaught as a 0-costed card, Mystique, and then Spectrum, or maybe you've got like the Ms. Marvel down, you can duplicate that effect. You've got other like slightly cheaper cards in here, like Howard. This is the first time I'm featuring Howard and going to give you that consistency, and because it's going to be important to see what play lines you can achieve. You got US Agent to try and lock down that other location, prevent them from playing those higher costed cards there, force them into the location where you know you're definitely going to win because you've got Iron Man craziness kicking off. That could be pretty cool. But also we've got the magic in here. There's actually quite a high curved deck. We've got loads of higher costed cards, so there's not really many low rolls for Anti-Venom to be able to get, and it's just reaching into your deck, getting that extra power. And yeah, there's also surprising things you can do in here. The US Agent followed by the Mystique could be a nice one. That pretty much locks down that location, kind of. Especially if you can then Ms. Marvel down on it. You're getting extra power into there that they may not expect. Or you can get the 8 power from Claw into that. Sorry. 1, Gassy, apologies. 2, Claw's just been nerfed to a 7 power arm. Ongoing arm. So anyway, it's still a good opportunity. I don't think that kills the card by any means. And yeah, it's just it's a tribunal deck. What do you guys want me to say? Like, Christ, leave me alone, damn it. Why are there so many people just running outside this house? Like, calm down, people. Right, star ratings. Chaotic star ratings. As you can see, I've got the I've got the ghost of 2.5 stars floating about my overall rating of 3 stars. I think Anti-Venom is pretty fun, pretty interesting, but quite niche. I think it might be a little bit difficult for him. I was kind of tempted to give him 2.5. I just felt like I couldn't really give him 2.5 if the rest of the star ratings I've given him are a little bit higher. Like archetype, he doesn't really have a set archetype really, so I think 3 stars he's not going to feel like mandatory in much stuff. I don't think you'll particularly feel like you're missing out if you don't get him. I think his biggest strength is he'll be really fun. That level of unpredictability can be a really enjoyable thing to play. And competitive 3, I don't think he'll be bad. I think the potential benefit of his cube rate will maybe outbalance his lower win rate, perhaps. We'll see. I think he could be a potential buff candidate in future, maybe going to 4-7 or something like that. I don't think they'll go crazy and like it'll draw the card or anything. That would be mad. Maybe they could change him to reach further into your deck. Change the cost and power of the top 2 cards of your deck to 0. That would be very interesting. Or the rest of your deck. That would be interesting. Almost like a Mr. Negative style thing. Anyway, guys, ultimately, is he a snap or pass? He's kind of a pass. Like, I don't think he's mind-blowing. I think he is one of the weaker cards. Now, that being said, I am getting him. I'm actually buying him with tokens and then rolling keys or rolling caches to get this Spotlight variant. I think the Spotlight variant is so freaking nice that I just absolutely need it. That I do need it. And I need Supergiant as well, so I'm getting 2 cards anyway. Now, hopefully I only need to open 2 caches. That would be great because I am running just exceptionally low for the next season, guys. The War or Battle of the 9 Realms, whatever it's called. No, it's War of the 9 Realms, isn't it? Yeah, fine. Which is only like just over a week after I release this video, so that's super exciting. But yeah, don't feel too bad if you need to skip Anti-Venom. Don't be super surprised if he gets buffed in future. However, I'm really excited for him. I love the character. I think it's a cool card. It's a unique card. It's interesting. And this Spotlight variant is so good. I'm going to be like, yeah, how long will I have? Like, basically I have 2 weeks to upgrade this guy as much as possible in the Gold Rush zone. This higher split rate that we're currently experiencing and that will go through to roughly mid-December. It's an exciting time, guys. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're new, subscribe and I'll see you next time. Cheers! Sorry.